Future.
1 in favour.
Ayes are 61, noes are 59. Schedule 2 will stand part. And we've come to clauses 1 and 2. So the question is that clauses 1 and 2 stand part. The Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Mr. Chairman, in this, again, sort of swift process that we are embarking on, we move to the title and the commencement. And in this debate, colleagues of mine will propose a number of amendments. I note that excellent amendments. I know that Mr. Clark has proposed amendment number 45, renaming the bill to the State Asset Privatisation Act 2012. In respect of the commencement, because we know, of course, that the government has tried to expedite, or in plain language, ram through every particular, with the support of the Maori Party, of course, as my colleague Perekura Harameu says, ram this whole process through. So, of course, we know that the Governor-General's pen will hardly have touched the parchment before they try and move this through, in the vain hope that the people of New Zealand might sort of say, right, that's it, hoist the white flag of surrender and forget about it, of course, which they won't. And to that end, we have a number of amendments in colleagues' names. Mr. Parker has an amendment 47 to change the enactment date to 2016, which will be a period, as colleagues will realise, after the next general election. Chris Hipkins has amendment number 53, which is a very good amendment that prevents enactment unless there is a 75% majority of this House, effectively entrenching or providing for an entrenchment provision to ensure that this Act does not come into existence unless it has the overwhelming support of the House. Grant Robertson has amendment of number 58 that prevents enactment until the FEC committee reviews and approves the legislation. Now, this is a very important amendment, one close to a number of our hearts, Mr. Parker and Mr. Clark, who had to sit through one of the most disgraceful select committee processes that in my 13 years in the Parliament I've ever been a part of. Well, Maggie Barry's role, to answer Mr. Little's question, was simply to attempt to subdue any submitter that came in respect of being anti the privatisation of assets, and a disgraceful moment in the committee, one that I wouldn't have thought we would see on any side of the House. I know Mr. Brownlee is leader of the House. Oh, this is about, no, it's not this, mate. Have a read of the amendments, I say to the senior whip. He's doing his sort of calisthenics over there, like this, or flapping his arms in the breeze. I suggest he might want to read amendment in Mr. Robertson's name, number 58. So while he's trying to sort of levitate or whatever, sir, through flapping his arms, he might actually want to read what's on the table. As I was saying, I'm sure that Mr. Brownlee, a learned member and leader of the House of this Parliament, would agree that intimidating voters by asking them how they vote in a select committee or demanding to know how they vote would be a disgrace. And I know, even though Mr. Brownlee is a political opponent, I know he is a bit of a traditionalist in a parliamentary and culinary sense, and I'm sure he would agree with me. But it was a disgraceful process, sir. A process where submitters were treated in many respects like dirt. They were abused in some respects, ignored, and basically laughed at by government members, even though they were passionate, especially, I is here somewhere, especially Dr. Nick Smith, of course, especially Dr. Nick Smith. Well, the relevant point, Mr. Brownlee says, come back to relevance. Well, had Mr. Brownlee actually been on the committee, he would know, and he has been on the odd select committee. I think the, government administration that deals with the catering or something perhaps in the Parliament, but he has been on the select committees, and he knows that an important part of select committees is to actually listen to submissions. Whether you agree with them or not, the process is, and if you're really cynical as a politician, you sort of act the part out that you are going to listen to submitters. Now this, clause 2, read the amendment. I know, Mr. Brownlee, it's not published by Golden Books or Dr. Seuss, but try reading the amendment in the name of Mr. Robertson, number 58, because that amendment prevents this legislation from coming into enactment until it goes back to the Select Committee, the FEC, for a full review of the legislation. And if that was to happen, we'd actually get submitters being given more than 5 minutes, And we wouldn't have had the chairman of the committee turn to the committee and says the committee as a whole, this is the select committee, can have one question. One question. Right? That's all we were allowed for many of those submitters. And many of those submitters were rubbished. So I think this amendment is particularly good because, putting all politics aside, part of the job of select committees is to at least get the legislation into an appropriate, Mr. Chair, into an appropriate form, so that at least it can be dealt with in the House. That's what people expect of us. But when you have 1,400, nearly 1,500 submitters, sir, rock up to a select committee, and actually they were queuing up indeed to put their point of view forward, and you get what borders on intimidation by some members, that is not on. Then we have, of course, the absurd case, one that I think's made history in this place, where on instruction from the Minister, on instruction from the Chair of the committee, Todd McClay, the Treasury officials were told to write their report on the submissions, submit it to the committee prior to submitters actually completing the hearing of evidence. Now that's give us a what? Oh, a new one. No. But you see, Jerry Brownlee doesn't like it. He doesn't like it when we repeat these points because they happen to be true. That's why. And because the people of New Zealand and the 1,400, 1,500 nearly organisations and individuals that came to that committee will remember the conduct that was visited upon them by the National Party. They will remember that, the dismissive nature of the National Party. So I know Mr. Brownlee hates it when we remind him of these things, but sadly, it is the truth. That's what happened. So I will be seeking support for that amendment because that actually treats submitters with respect, sir. Now, if we look at the title of the bill, and the naming of it, the title, I wasn't going to call it the big fella bill, I'll tell you that. The title of the bill could well go down in reference to Mr. Dunn. Mr. Dunn, of course, this could be the day Peter Dunn gave the government the one vote they needed to sell out Kiwis. We could call it that, perhaps. We could name it that. And I invite Mr. Dunn to break new ground in this debate and actually get up and take a call. That would be helpful. Because we know he's had several positions on things like water and other things that we won't go into. But I would have thought, given that he, it's the done deal, he will go down in history as New Zealand's biggest auctioneer, I would have thought that if it turns on his vote, he will want to get on the record as to why he sold New Zealanders out. So this could be the sort of done deal bill. The day Peter Dunn gave the government the one vote they needed to sell New Zealanders out. So we hope that Peter Dunn wouldn't turn up on radio today, wouldn't turn up at any forum. Submitters told us before the Select Committee that he refused to meet with them, refused to meet with his own constituents to even discuss this bill. It's okay for an MP to say, look, I disagree with you. Plonker, there's a title for that member. There's a title for that member, sir. There's a title. But he would not meet with his submitters, sir. He would not meet with them. And it's okay for a Member of Parliament to say, I disagree with you, but they should have the decency to invite them to your office and actually sit down and listen to them. So that's what I say. That's what I say to the big fellow over there. That's what I say to him. I know that member doesn't meet with his constituents because he doesn't give a damn about them. He doesn't meet with them, of course, sir. But I think Peter Dunn, as the one vote that could turn this, the one vote that could stop this bill, there is a redeeming feature. There is redemption for Mr. Dunn if he was to actually vote against this. The redemption bill, indeed, there's a good title. Of course. Mr. Brownlee would remember that from his sort of, Catholic Sunday school classes at St. Bede's between other activities. But yes, it could be the Peter Dunn redemption bill. The one time that Peter Dunn could come into this House and say, actually, I got it wrong, the people have got it right, and I'm going to vote against the government. I don't know if I was a betting man, I don't know what the TAB odds on that will be, but I believe that Peter Dunn does owe a duty of care. He does have a moral responsibility to stand up and take a call and explain to the people of Ohariu, the people of New Zealand, why it will be his vote, although we don't know where the Maori Party sits on this, of course. They're all over the place, like the proverbial, but it could be his vote that sells New Zealanders out or redeems this Parliament and holds our assets in Kiwi hands. And as to the Maori Party, well, I can't refer to it, but over there, I'd love them to take a call on anything in respect of this. On anything in respect of this. You know, we could call this the Where is the Maori Party on State-Owned Assets Bill. I'd love them to actually take a call and give us a position. Because they went round the marae, of course, and said, we've done a deal with New Zealand, we've sewn up land rights, property rights and treaty rights for Maori, and then Tū Wharetoa came to us and said, no, hasn't happened. And they were armed with legal advice. So they've voted, I think, with the government on everything, and I invite them to make an explanation.
I'm going to call the Honourable Member Dr. David Clark.